Thanks for doing this, man.
No worries.
Appreciate it. We got it nailed out. So I hope that everybody that sees this on video will see that I'm almost as tall as you with my step.
I'm 6'2.5", nearly 6'3". I only say that because my little brother's like 19 and he's already 6'4".
Jeez.
So I've got to try not to be too small than him.
So Marshall Lee, is that Asian?
No relation to Bruce. No, it's just I think that my granddad's got American family, and obviously he's British. My dad's half Irish and half Maltese, so I think a bit of everything.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about like where you come from. Who's Marshall Lee? What does he do for a living?
I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I want to say a powerlifting coach as well, but everyone says that now. So I'm just a coach, and I make people stronger, and I make some coaches a little bit more knowledgeable if I can, and get some people onto the barbell, and do whatever else I can with the knowledge I have, or point them in a direction that they need to go. I'm from England.
I noticed.
Yeah. Well, actually, everyone says you're Australian, first of all.
Really? And, for some reason, like every time that I see an Australian, I think that they're every time I see a guy from the UK, I think that, but not you. I knew you were from the UK the first time I saw you.
I'm proud to be British, but at the same time, we're very shit at everything.
Oh yeah,
most
right.
of the time, you know.
For food.
And we think we're the greatest. So when we change that mindset, we'll start being the greatest. But yeah. What else? I come from a bit of a combat sports background back in the day. I started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. My uncle's a black belt. He fought in the UFC, so that was he's one of my biggest inspirations. Got into strength and conditioning, done a couple of internships, spent some time with probably some names I'll be dropping in some stage.
Yeah.
Some of the best people in the world, in my opinion, or just generally, not even just my opinion, but in factually the best in the world. And just developed and just read. I mean, my passion, I'd probably say my main passion is learning before it is even coaching. You know,
really?
Coaching. I love coaching with a passion, and it's the greatest thing in the world. But I love learning just a little bit more, and I think that is what has given me the knowledge that I hope I have today. You know? What
do you think is the thing that made you learn the most? Is it more like reading, or it's mostly practice? Some people learn more from.
I think both.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single course I could sort of go, that was the one that really shone. I think just reading books. Like, I've got Audible, Kindle, I've got physical books. Every day I read 3-4 hours a day.
Really?
Yeah, whether it be philosophy, whether it be...
4 hours a day?
Yeah, whether it be politics, whether it be, you know, training, you know, West Side books, whether it be, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk or...
I love that guy. I want us to talk about him.
Yeah. Anyone that's going to give me any ounce of knowledge in anything, I'm happy to take it, and I think that's what's given me the knowledge I have today. Because there's many courses that are so far behind the real knowledge that is out there that I just tell people now, like, forget courses. Like, do the course that gets you in the door, and just forget courses and just read and study and go and see people. The biggest thing for me is studying, just self-study, educate yourself. Is the first thing my uncle said to me. Educate yourself. Don't worry about the shit courses everywhere. Just educate yourself and go and see the right people. Man,
you fixed my box squat the other day, and I've been feeling my hamstrings ever since. The day after, I was just like, I felt everything in there. It was just like a revelation. Like that kind of thing. Those little details change.
Yeah.
I think that coaches nowadays have a hard time between making a difference between either am I coaching as a cheerleader, or am I coaching to perfect movement and improve performance?
Yeah, for sure. I think that the route into coaching is just the standard is so small to become a coach, or I want to say coach, but I really want to say personal trainer or instructor. You know, a coach is someone that, I don't want to use the term coach lightly, but you're totally right. There's a lot of cheerleaders out there. There's a lot of people that think they know what they're doing, or they want to jump on the next thing. I don't want to say fad because it's not that. It's even like Olympic weightlifting now, and I'm absolutely passionate about that. It was my first weightlifting sport that I got into, and you know, my all-time favorite coach I've ever worked with is an Olympic weightlifting coach. She's phenomenal, and like so that was my first love when it comes to the barbell. But the British weightlifting coaches course, and I will say I'll name them, British weightlifting, is so shocking that it's like literally people that don't know what it is and accidentally sign up for the course are passing it. And that's an actual experience that I had. Someone who accidentally signed up for the course still passed. And for me, it's like, if you want to become a weightlifting coach, all you have to do now is just do a couple of days. And now you're like, cool, I can teach you Olympic lifts. And it's like, what? Like, seriously? It's going to take you like 10. I've not mastered them. It's going to take you 10 years to master the Olympic lifts. But now you're going to become a specialty Olympic lifting coach. And you're going to start the little Olympic lifting club in your gym and start taking people to competitions and making them feel like they're amazing, when really you're doing more damage than you are good.
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between coaches that are Olympic lifting coaches in CrossFit and others that are actually building athletes and developing them. There's this guy back home, he like pretty much trains all the little kids from starters, and he's amazing. Like, and he does great things, and now he's like coaching big athletes out there, and
sure.
takes years.
Oh, of course, many years. And as you said before, a friend of mine in England, Alex Backhouse, I've done a couple of seminars at his gym. He's got a little strength and conditioning facility in south of England. One of the things he says is invisible techniques. Like, there's little tiny things that a really experienced, knowledgeable coach will know, that if someone watching the squat, for example, they won't see it, but a good coach will actually know that it's not happening, or tell someone to do it, or coach that technique. For example, something as small as, you know, lateral pressure coming out of the hole of the squat. Now, it's not something you really see unless you know about it specifically and you've seen it 1,000 times. Now you can see it. But generally, it's not something that you'll kind of identify straight away. And he calls something like that an invisible cue or an invisible technique. And like, that's some of the stuff that the general...
It's deep, man.
Yeah, it's deep. The general PT will sort of look at Dan Green doing a squat on YouTube and go, oh yeah, I'll teach you like that. But there's like 50,000 things they're not seeing. They're not seeing the little intricacies of the technique. And Dan Green himself once said to me, worry about the intricacies because your legs won't forget to stand up. Like, that's literally word for word what he said to me. Like, the details are important, the legs won't forget to stand up. And that was like, damn, like...
That makes fucking sense.
Yeah, and that's why literally all techniques now, like if you really dive into them, they're endless in the little intricacies you can do to change and perfect techniques, you know? So that's what a coach is to me. Someone who wants to study every day, never thinks that they're at the top level. They never think, oh, you know, like, I'm here now. I've done my course. Like, yes, this is it. It's like, no, man, I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never going to be the coach I want to be, because it's just impossible. There's so much to learn.
That's why I wanted to get you on the podcast, because you said something to me the other day that actually kind of stunned me, because I've been shifting between these two type of mentalities, and that is like giving on free programming and actually charging for every single piece of work you've done. And the reason why I find it's a hard thing to evaluate it on a spectrum is because I have a feeling that sometimes you grow as a coach and you become to this certain point where you've given so much that at some point you don't give anymore. I want you to elaborate more on what you were telling me.
Yeah, so one of my biggest inspirations, one of my biggest, I don't want to use the word idol, but someone I very much look up to and I study every day and educate myself on every day, whether that be podcast, YouTube video, article, book, whatever it may be, is Dave Tate from Elite FTS, a former Westside barbell lifter. And I can't remember the specific question I asked him word for word, but it was along the lines of, you know, without being like a fanboy too much, I kind of said to him, listen, I want to be your level one day. I want to be as respected as you. I want to be as knowledgeable as you. How? There's obviously no secret, but, you know, tell me something that's going to help me along the way and get me to that goal. And he said, give away some stuff for free. Like, just give away some free products. Get your shit out there. Literally said, get your shit out there. Have services that you provide that you charge for, but then have other services that you provide for free and just put stuff out there. You know, articles for free, just put it out there. Even ebooks, put them out there. You know, like maybe have a big ebook that you charge for, and then, you know, little ones that you put out for free. Things like podcast or programming, just give away stuff for free, man. Give back, and the more you give back, the more you'll receive, and that's like, you know, the law of reciprocation and everything else. And
because it's true, like I've been coaching for years, and it's true. So many people have given to me, and that's why it resonated a lot with my mentality. Because it's true, man. So much people have like given time and effort and like free shit, like.
And some of that free shit that is given away is like people don't even realize. Like they don't even think of counting that as free shit. And I'll give you an example. I went to a seminar once with one of my previous coaches, Delroy McQueen. He's a British powerlifter and former weightlifter. He won the Commonwealth Games. And we went to Durham from Eastbourne, and Eastbourne is like the south, and Durham is like right up, like six and a half hours away. And it was just me and him in the car. And literally, like the person I am, I literally took my notebook, and I thought, I've got 6 hours in the car with this guy. Like I'm using every second of it. And I just
make your time worth it.
I literally asked him questions after question after question. Probably annoyed the living shit out of him.
You think so?
But he answered every question, and he was happy to do it. And like, so I didn't just get a 6-hour seminar. I got 18 hours of time with this guy for the price of one seminar. You know, and that's free shit right there. That's like, he could have turned around and said, dude, you just got 6 hours of privates of knowledge. But he didn't say that, of course, but he could have. And too right, he could have. And, you know, same with, you know, my uncle's a great example. I mentioned before we started, like he's an MMA coach, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, and he'll have his clients spend, you know, £89 a month on his membership fee, or whatever it is now. But he'll fly to other countries to be part of their fight, to corner them, to coach them while they're fighting. And that's like, you know, he gives his time away so much. And you look at the perspective of like the value of what he's given away compared to what they're actually paying, the price. And when you sort of look at price and value as two different things, you start putting a whole nother level of sort of value to what you're receiving, as well as what you're giving away. And that's one of the reasons why I now give away free programs. You know, I talk to people for free if they want my time. Sometimes I'll be on the phone, or I'll be Skyping someone, and I'll realise I'm like an hour in and I'm not charging for it, or the people that do pay me for Skypes will be doing 3 hours when they pay me for one. And I'm just like, and I'm not saying that to big myself up, but I'm saying that to big up the people that have taught me to do that. You know, because
and do you still think that like the values of your service is worth like a fair amount? Like, I mean, your knowledge, your expertise is like raised across the years, right? Don't you think that has like that a certain value?
Oh, of course.
And you do charge for that, I mean.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, you know, if you want individual programming, like the free program I put out is very general, and it's been going for like, I don't know, 15, 17 weeks now, something along them lines. And every time I post the following week, there's a little article with it, you know, some knowledge about what we're doing in the program, or why I program the way I do, or whatever it may be, about one of the effort methods we're using, like the max effort method, dynamic method, or whatever it may be. And that's free. But then if you want individual coaching, like you want specifically me to sit down and assess all your videos and stuff like that, and write something specifically for you, then of course I'll charge for that. If you want to send me an Instagram DM with like a 20-second video with some tips for your squat or deadlift, then I'll reply. I'll reply as if I'm sitting down not doing anything, you'll get a longer reply. If I'm really busy and I remember when I go to bed, you'll get a shorter reply. But I'm going to reply. I'm not going to message you and go, listen, you owe me, you know, $7.99 for the 3 minutes it took me to do it.
But you're specifically with powerlifters, or do you have other type of athletes?
Weightlifters, powerlifters. I've coached women athletes in the past, MMA fighters, boxers.
Oh, really? So you really have a bigger spectrum.
Yeah, a bigger spectrum for sure.
But do those type of athletes would not follow your powerlifting as much?
So it's just a good question. One of my planes of thought when it comes to strength and conditioning is the squat, bench, and deadlift are vital, pivotal for all sports.
Yeah.
We could elaborate on that, but there's probably going to be further questions afterwards. But so they don't follow a powerlifting program, but the principles behind developing
The strength.
a powerlifter, developing the strength and conditioning of a swimmer, in my opinion, is relatively exactly the same. They want to be faster, and again, I'll put one more little principle there. Developing an old lady, it's exactly the same. Just they differ by degree. It's Michael Phelps needs to squat, and he needs to do some absolute strength work. He needs to do some strength endurance work. He needs to do some speed work to increase his power. The powerlifter needs to do max effort work, so their sport skill and lifting heavy weights is there. They need to be doing dynamic work, so they get faster and build their explosive power. And it's strength endurance work, whether that be for hypertrophy, whether that be for lactic acid tolerance, or whatever science we're putting in there. They need to do that. Now, the old lady, we need to make her stronger first. Absolute strength is key.
Absolutely, I agree.
And we have to make her more durable and give her some strength endurance. It would be nice if she was a little bit faster, and this is a question I get asked a lot. Why does an old lady need to be fast? If she's on a bus and she's not holding on properly and the bus goes over a hump, she needs to be able to do that so she doesn't fall over and die. And if she's not fast enough, she's not going to do that. So now Phelps and the powerlifter, they might use a safety bar with hundreds of kilos on, or 65% of their 1 rep max, or 55%, or waving it, however we're waving it, with bands and chains and boxes and
all that shit, yeah.
Or not, it might just be free weight on a straight bar. The little old lady, she might be doing an 18-inch box with a 2-kilo kettlebell. Right? But the principle is the same. I need to increase her absolute strength with a squat, and in a deadlift pattern, and in a pressing pattern. Same with Michael Phelps, same with a boxer, So the principles all remain the same. The laws, the scientific laws of strength and conditioning are exactly the same, whether it be an old lady or whether it be a professional athlete. It's just the degree of which we use them that's going to change. So
I agree with that. What do you think about all the specific exercises for those different type of athletes, as more unilateral athletes, or I don't know, a runner compared to somebody that's more playing?
Boring answer is it depends.
Yeah, right.
So if we're doing the reason why I like maximal effort work a lot, and not just as a tester specifically, 1 rep maxes, but just maximal effort within a range, is because it's a great identifier of weaknesses.
Right.
If you're using sub-maximal weight all the time, you can't truly identify a weakness, because it's easy to move that load with pretty much efficient form. If you're doing max effort work in some capacity, weaknesses are going to be identified. Now, I'm not talking about crazily bad technique, flexion of the spine, all this other crazy stuff. I'm just talking about a weakness is going to be identified. Now, if you're a runner and you're a long distance runner, and I put you under the bar throughout a training program, I'm not saying he has to do a 1 rep max immediately when he comes in the gym. That's obviously not what I'm saying. I don't want people to take it out of context, but because people do.
Yeah.
They'll go, "Oh, that guy said." But if I have
they
them on
always
the program,
do. They always fucking do that.
Actually, to be honest, I don't really give a shit. But I'm just saying it for good. But if they do, if the runner comes in and does a max effort squat on the session that they're doing on max effort day, whether that be every 3 weeks, every week, or whatever it might be, and they have they have weak glutes out of the hole, or they have a little bit of weak hamstrings. We see it. We identify a problem. If I make his hamstring stronger or his glutes stronger, that's not just going to transfer to his squat. That's going to also transfer to his running. That's just a general weakness in his glutes. Yeah. It doesn't mean it's only a weakness when he's doing squats.
Yeah, definitely.
It's no, I've just identified a weakness in your biological system. Whether you're running, swimming, jumping, sitting down, standing up, you'll have a weakness in your glutes. So I'm now going to develop that. Now, when it comes to sport specific, when people talk about that, it's just it's a pet hate term of mine. Because if you think about the law of accommodation as a great example, if we overload the same pattern too much, your adaptations are going to decrease over time. Yeah. So when I see a boxer with a strength and conditioning coach and they're holding dumbbells and shadow boxing and doing other crazy stuff, and they're just mimicking the same pattern on cables as much as possible, and I just think, so he's done his morning training for 2 hours, hitting pads, hitting bags. Then he's gone to his strength and conditioning coach and done exactly the same thing. And then
he's repeating the same thing.
Then he's going to go and spar tonight and do exactly the same thing. So the adaptations over time are going to decrease. He's also going to overuse
the muscles,
movement pattern and the muscles in the movement pattern, and potentially injure himself. So it's like, how about we just make him stronger? We just improve his strength endurance. We improve all of his energy systems for conditioning, and we improve his dynamic power and strength.
I think the athletes have a big part of responsibility in that kind of principle, because they'll see this, the sparring with the dumbbells or whatever other sport that they'll be doing, and they'll think it looks sexy. They'll think that okay, like, oh yeah, that looks like what I should do, right?
Sure.
Like hockey players doing split jerks when they don't even know how to clean yet, right? Yeah. I mean, it's stuff like that.
Olympic lifts for strength and conditioning is, again, I just think it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Like, people, but their explosive power is going to increase. Well, I could do the same with a deadlift, and it's a little less complex to teach than, I mean, yes, it's very intricate, but it's a little less complex to an athlete who's only got 20 minutes to learn that movement every once a week, maybe.
I agree at a certain point, because I think that professional athletes have so much to do in a week. Like, they have so much other trainings than, like, it's not a priority to be in the gym. Like, no. It isn't. It's like, even if they're there 4 days a week, it's still not their priority number one. It's probably priority number 2 or 3.
Sure.
But I still think that it could have, like, if you have the skills to do it, and you've shown like a certain adaptation of learning quickly, that it could benefit at some point. Like Mike Boyle would use the hang power clean, because it's super simple. You don't need to start from the floor. There's a couple you don't need to squat. Just the hang power clean motion.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, it's got its benefits, 100%. But yeah, if the coach has the capacity to teach it, and they know the details, they know what to look for.
And if he's present.
And majorly if he's present.
If he's not present, it's not worth it.
And again, as you said, if the athlete shows the competency and intelligence to actually, they're going to perfect this movement pretty quickly, not perfect it, but at least efficiently use it, then yeah, for sure, it's going to be a good idea. But generally, for most athletes, and again, like, people ask me all the time about what should I do with this specific athlete and this specific person, or even if it be a child coming into the gym and someone says, oh, what should I do with a kid? What should I do with an old lady? What should I do with this person or that person? They've got this problem. Essentially, we want to make them stronger. That's the first thing we want to do, is make them stronger.
Strength is always part of the answer.
Strength is a prerequisite to everything.
Yeah.
Like, everything. I know some physical therapists out there might disagree and say, no, stability
and
is...
some would agree.
Most would agree.
Yeah.
A lot of people would. Maybe not most, but a lot.
I think that the new era of physiotherapists know a lot more about strength.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the strength is like one of the things they know the best now.
A lot of physical therapists will tell me actually stability is key first. So I always just reply with, if you demand stability from a weak structure, it's going to break. If you make it stronger, then demand stability, guess what?
Exactly.
It's going to be more stable. They would disagree and have their evidence for that. I'm just going to call bullshit, but that's their opinion. Have you heard of Dr. Quinn Hennock from Juggernaut Training Systems?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of his videos.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, cool guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's like super professional what he does.
Really, really awesome.
I'm gonna make your ears bleed a bit, but when I used to mountain bike, I used to back squat and front squat on the Bosu, like on the big Swiss balls.
The Bosu, man.
Yeah, and
the Bosu a couple of days ago.
Like about 6 months of training, and probably went up for 10 pounds, because like there was so much like danger around it. And now that's my like kind of field of expertise, is coaching like mountain bike athletes. And when I look at it from the past, it's just crazy how like I see what everything I've done so wrong, but I didn't know. Like at 16 years old, you're just doing whatever.
Yeah, for sure, man. One of my first mentors, 2 things he's told me is KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple, stupid.
That phrase. And also he said, like, of course, educate yourself every day, always strive to be better. He said, but don't forget, in 5 years' time, you're going to look back at some of the shit you did 5 years prior and go, fuck, I was doing that shit. Like, as you just said, you look back and go, damn, I was doing that shit. Like, that's bad. Like, and I'll look back now and look at myself and go, 5 years ago, man, I was like, damn, like I was shit compared to now.
I found
5 years time, I'll say the same thing.
I found some programs on like a folded piece of paper. It was just like folded into like eighths. And now like I use my computer. It's just way more convenient. And I still like to use paper once in a while to make a nice sheen. But I was looking at my piece of paper and like I had like everything written down, and like I was looking at the volume that I was programming. It was like, whoa, that is like.
Yeah.
Like, but still, like the content was. I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's pretty good. But the amount of work that needed to be done, like it was like I didn't know like what to do. Like, so you'd like kind of give everything, and then it becomes a big problem. Oh, I'll do this and this and this, and then add this and then add this and then add this, and then it becomes just more of an endurance program.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just tell people if you can justify it, then put it in there. You know, like. If you look at some of the programs I write on a squat or deadlift day, there might be 4 or 5 movements, like that's it. And then I've had people, the last commercial gym I worked in, I had a PT, I was one of the senior coaches and
back in the UK.
Yeah. And I had one of the, this is years ago, and this is years and years ago, and I had one of the PTs come to me and just generally ask me about my programming style and what am I doing with my clients today. So I showed them one of the sessions and there was, I don't know, 4 movements on there. It was like it may have been like a max effort squat day or some kind of squat day. And we had like a secondary squat, maybe like a hamstring or spinal erectors, glutes, something. And then some ab work, some oblique work maybe. And her response was, oh, that's not a lot of stuff, is it? Like, look at mine, I've got like 16 things on here. Like as if it was like, I was going to go, oh wow, I didn't even know there was 16 things to do. Like, and I was like, but why have you got that thing on there? She goes, what do you mean? And I was like, why have you got that thing on there, that one-legged side Bosu lunge, holding onto a TRX whilst making a cup of tea? Why is that in there? It's good. Oh, it's good. That's why it's in there, it's because it's good. I mean, the safety squat bar good morning is fucking good. But it doesn't mean it's got to be on my bench day, on my warm up, and my my extra workout later on tonight. Oh, come on, and maybe I'm just.
Did you tell him like that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that's the problem. Maybe I'm just an angry guy.
You must have cried at night.
Maybe I'm just an angry guy, but yeah, I mean, my whole philosophy now is like, there's no excuse to be shit because everything's online. Like, someone says to me, I can't afford books. Fuck. I can, whatever book you want, I can pretty much illegally download it for free.
Right.
So if you really wanted that book, you'd go and find it, or somehow you're going to get hold of it. Get Audible, because it's like $7.99 a month, and you at least get one book, or
Amazon. You get. I buy all my used books.
Like Dave Tate on Elite FTS, and this is a true statistic. This isn't me just making it up. There's over 1 million pages of content. Over 1 million pages of content on Elite FTS. You can't afford books? www.elitefts.com. I think that's what it is. I'm not exactly sure, but it's around that. Just Google Elite FTS and everything will be on there that you need to know. Like even stuff that Dave Tate doesn't believe in, it will be on there. Yeah. Because he wants everything to be on there.
Eric Cressy sends about 5 newsletters a week.
Yeah.
Just with everything, and each newsletter will have like shoulder stability rehab, and then it will have like throwing med wells for pitchers, and then the day after there's like another thing. It's just like you can't keep up. Yeah.
YouTube.
YouTube, man.
Find a subject that you want to learn about. YouTube it. There'll be about 3 million hours of content about that one thing. Like, so when people say, "Oh man, I just don't have the money to do courses. I don't have the money to go and see someone. I've got the time." Like I've had all these problems before. I found the money, found the time, or I made the time, and I went and done it. Like my first Olympic weightlifting coach was like 2 hours from my house. I used to go in 2 hours there, 2 hours back, and then my second weightlifting coach was like 2 hours from that house when I moved to get closer to one gym, and then I changed gym, and then
you have to be able to create change if you want change.
Yeah, man. And it's like, it's just like, go and do it. Like, there's always going to be an excuse. There's always going to be an excuse why not to do something. If you want to do it, you're going to go and do it. And if you don't want to do it, then step aside and let the guy or the girl that wants to do it, let them do it instead. I say it to, and it's a bit of a harsh lesson maybe, but I've had PTs come to me and say, I've had a PT specifically, obviously I'm not going to mention his name, but I've had a PT specifically from the UK say to me, I don't really want to get any better, I don't want to learn, I don't really want to, I don't have the desire to. And I said, get the fuck out the industry, you fucking idiot. Like, I can't believe that's even a statement that comes to your mind. Like, there's going to be someone else that you're in the way of. There's people here that you're training that aren't getting anywhere near a good service, let alone the best service they could, because you're bullshitting them and you're bullshitting yourself. And in fact, if you want to put it in a nice way, find the thing you are passionate about and do that instead. Like, don't just be a PT because, it's just a good career change. Like, find the thing, if it's stamps, if you want to collect stamps, go and be the best stamp collector in the world. Like, go and just put everything into it.
It's like Gary Vee likes to put that kind of like analogy, like you just said. It's one of the guys that I listen to a lot. I think you like him too. On your page, you have Gary Vee's quotes of the day, and
all the time. Yeah, I always put on my story. He's just very unapologetic in his views.
He doesn't fucking care, man.
Again, and that's exactly the way I've always been since I was a kid. You know, like, if you don't like me, I literally, like, I don't give any fucks whatsoever. Like, if you don't like what I'm saying, don't listen. If you do like what I'm saying, thank you very much. Do listen. You know, if you want to be great, that's your mindset. You know, and I want to be great. I'm not saying I am now, but I want to be. I want to be Louis Simmons. I want to be the Dave Tate. I want to be the Gary Vee. People look up and go, oh my God, like, wow. You know, like, the knowledge of that human being is insane, and that's what I want. And to get there, you have to be.
You have to get the work done, man.
Yeah. Think of Louis Simmons, man. Think about how many people in his life have told him, everything's wrong. The conjugate method is terrible. Like,
it works.
Of course it does. Like, it's built some of the strongest humans in existence ever.
Yeah.
Like, and if he listened to everyone saying, "Oh no, your methods are terrible,"
he's another guy that was that's like, doesn't cost anything to be coached by him. You just need to be like you just need to be accepted.
In fact, he buys breakfast every morning for his guys.
He buys breakfast.
If you look, I think it was something. I'm probably going to be wrong with this number, but it was like $16,000 or $18,000 a year.
Yeah. He said this on Rogan, but it was only on breakfast. Oh, okay.
Yeah, on breakfast. Yeah, on
60,000 a year.
Yeah, something like that on breakfast, because every day his guys train, he buys them breakfast. The AM crew, like the
so he would go with them and eat breakfast.
6 o'clock in the morning, they'd meet at the local little restaurant, and he'd buy breakfast for everyone, and then go and train.
How cool do you think that would be?
Like, it's insane. It's just
how cool do you think? Like, how do you like that raises up the level, man?
Of course, man. Like, he was doing everything in his life. Wasn't about anything but making these human beings as strong as they physically could be.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. That was his whole. Well, that is. I say was. Like, he's still alive. That is his whole entire life. You know, and respect to him, because again, 90% of my knowledge, I don't want to say 90%, but a lot of it has come from Louis Simmons' content, whether it be books, webinars, articles,
so much
courses,
shit out there.
YouTubes, you know. Yeah.
So we're far from Ohio, and we're now in Thailand. Yeah. So you're pretty much the head coach of Superpro CrossFit.
Superpro, Samui,
Muay Thai. The whole kind of the whole thing, man. Like
strength and conditioning coach. Yeah.
How did that come up? Like, I mean, what happened that made you want to move to Thailand first of all, and like how do you like it?
It's amazing. It's paradise, right? Other than when
man, I love it.
Other than when it rains horrendously, it's pretty much paradise, and even then, it's pretty much warm rain. So
yeah,
that's okay. How did I come in? I just finished doing a bunch of seminars in Europe. I've just come back from Portugal. I've done loads of seminars in Portugal.
By yourself or with?
Myself. Yeah, just myself.
Into like other strength gyms.
Yeah. So like CrossFit gyms, strength and conditioning facilities, barbell clubs invited me to do a weightlifting seminar or a powerlifting seminar, strength and conditioning seminar. You know, depending on which type of facility it was depending on sort of the angle the seminar went. I mean, a lot of the coaching was the same. We was talking about the squat, bench, deadlift. We was talking about the snatch, clean and jerk, and the methods I used to teach athletes. And again, as I said earlier, they're pretty much the same across the board, just differ by degree. So it's pretty much the same seminar with a different name. But yeah, so I've done a bunch there. Anyway, so to get back to the question, I just went back to England, and
this is how many years ago?
I've been here now for a year, about a year and a week,
right?
Or a year and a month, something like that. A year and 2 weeks, I think, specifically. So I just got back to England, and I was going to chill for a little while. And I was meant to do a seminar in Bangkok. I think Bangkok, yeah. At a gym. I forgot the name of the gym. It's East West CrossFit, but it's got another name as well.
East West CrossFit.
Yeah.
Would that be in Thonglord?
I'm not exactly sure. Yeah. But anyway, so I was going to do a seminar there, and I believe that Robbie, who's one of the owners here, he was looking for a new strength and conditioning coach, head coach of the gym, and I think he asked around. He asked some people. He asked his friend who owns the gym I was going to do a seminar at, and I think they mentioned my name and said, this guy. So then I get a call or a message, and we had a chat. I'm not sure exactly how many days, but maybe it was 5 or 7 days later I was here. It was just literally the perfect timing because I hadn't booked any more seminars forward because I was just chilling out for a little while.
That's how it happens, man.
Yeah, doing some other stuff just to sort of rest my brain a little bit. And I was sitting in a coffee shop, one of my favourite coffee shops in England, number 50, Friendly Street, it's called.
Let's plug it in.
Yeah, man, plug it. If you're ever in South East London. Anyway, so I was there, and I was looking out the window, and it was raining. I think it was raining. And
Bloody Mary.
You want to come to
Thailand?
I was like,
say what?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, let's go.
Let's fucking do this shit.
So then I'm here, and then it was, I'm still here a year later, a year and however long later. So yeah, it's going well, man. Good relationship with the guys, with the owners.
Yeah, they're pretty cool, man.
Super cool.
Wow, they're super chill.
Really good relationship with them, and we've got some great coaches here, Pi and Stephen. I couldn't really ask for a better team. We've all got our specialties. We all, we're all good coaches in our own right, and we have our strong areas, and our strong areas really complement each other's weak areas as well.
As much as the personalities as the skills, I bet.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
of course. Definitely.
Steven's the big guy.
I'm the big guy.
Oh yeah, you're the big guy.
He's the big guy.
He's the Italian, right?
No, he's Belgian. He's from Belgium.
Oh, Belgium.
He is Belgian. He is.
Okay.
What do they call a Belgian guy? Belgique.
Belge? A Belge? No.
He's Belge.
Yeah.
Belgique. That's what they call them.
Yeah.
My geography knowledge isn't that good. Yeah, he's super cool. As you can imagine, I'm not the gymnastics guy. So yeah, it's really good that we've all got our own specialties, and each of our individual weaknesses is met very well by one of the other coaches, which is really good. This makes a good team, and we've everyone's gelled together really well, and it's just a great team.
So like, what's the life in Thailand? I mean, I've been here for a couple of weeks now, and for some reason, like I've traveled quite a bit, and for some reason, Thailand to me feels more like home than home. And I don't know if that does that to everybody. Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely a vibe that everyone has. I think that, Thailand for me is just, Portugal is my favourite country in the world.
Really?
I've got stories of why that is, but number 2 would have to be here for sure.
There are problems, like don't get me wrong.
Oh, of course, there's problems everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I just think the people are just generally very nice.
They're crazy nice.
They're generally just like very chilled out, very laid back. Like,
safe. You feel safe.
Very safe. Like just tiny little things that make you sort of just stand up and go, oh wow. Leaving your mobile phone on your motorbike for like a whole hour-long massage, you come back
and
you haven't even realised haven't got your phone on you, and it's just sat there still. And you know that hundreds of people have walked past, or at least driven past, and it's still there, Or someone will come in and go, "Oh, someone's phone is outside," and you're like, "Oh yeah, that's mine." I
lost my bag, and like in a taxi.
Yeah.
And 6 hours later, a guy running. Yeah. Hey, is this your bag?
Exactly. No, for sure. It's amazing.
In South America, I'd be long gone.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's one of the reasons why people love it here so much. The food is good, obviously.
Do you eat a lot of it? Because they kind of add sugar and everything.
Yeah, you can just ask for that stuff not to be put in there.
But in the sauces and stuff like that.
I mean,
as
you can tell, I'm not like.
But in your sport, I mean, it's not something that where you need to be super lean and like 10% fat or.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 11%.
Wow.
I'm joking. That's obviously a joke.
I wish I was 11.
Yeah, exactly. No, so yeah, I mean, I'm not someone that really watches their diet. I should probably do it more.
At some point, you need to get in calories.
It doesn't mean I eat like shit, but I don't necessarily watch everything that goes in my mouth. But yeah, you can get some really good food. You can get some pretty clean food if you really need it. And again, it's super cheap as well. Like, everything here is pretty cheap, and it's just super laid back. Like, it's really laid back. Like, for me, like, even if I have a busy, crazy long day, I still sit there at the end of the day and go, my life ain't that hard,
yeah,
man. You know, I can just walk down the end of the street and give my laundry to someone and pay like a few quid and it's going to get done. Or I can just go 2 minutes and get some decent food for like a few pounds. You know,
there's a big contrast though, like very poor and rich people. I mean, like, there's not many people of your expertise in Thailand. Like, the proof is you're here. Like, I mean, you wouldn't be here if there was those skill sets around Thailand, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of expats for those reasons.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know a great deal of the coaching community around Thailand, so I can't specifically comment.
I think Asia in general is pretty much back for anyways a lot of sports, but I think like other sports, like specific sports, it's a lot better.
I know that Thailand have got some really good weightlifters. It's just a very, I think it's a very small community at a high level.
Right.
High level weightlifters. Again, I can't say that for sure because I haven't explored.
We don't hear about them anyways.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
I haven't personally known the other coaches that are around, so I can't say that. I know that there's a couple of coaches that have gone to regionals and stuff in CrossFit.
Yeah.
One of our coaches here is coached by a guy and a girl, and I think the female coach at the gym, one of the owners of Thonglor CrossFit, I believe it's called. I know she's been to regionals. I think maybe he's been to regionals once, or as a team, if I'm correct. I'm not sure.
But
if I'm wrong.
But even in the big coaches of this world, like, you'll see them. Most of the great coaches are from Europe, the States, or Australia.
Yeah.
And you'll have like the big names like Charles Poliquin and Christian Thibodeau from Canada.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, there is some good coaches here. I mean, I'm not going to bias myself and say I'm the best one. You know, that remains to be seen, or that is I'd say that I'm probably one of the best powerlifting coaches.
Right.
Just because I've spent some time with some of the best powerlifters in the world, and there's not many specific powerlifting coaches around. So.
Well, I've been doing box squats for the past couple of years, and I mean, haven't had those cues that you gave me yesterday before.
When I say best powerlifting coaches, I mean like in Samui, in Thailand. I don't mean like in the world. Not yet. Anyway, but I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, I just study every day, and as I said before, my passion is learning. My passion, even above coaching, is learning. You know, I love coaching to death. It's amazing, but I love learning even more than that. You know. And you know, as you said, proof is in the pudding. I don't want to big myself up, but I think we spent like 3 minutes on the box squat.
Definitely.
And if you say that after 2 years of learning the box squat, you haven't performed it the way that it took me 4 minutes to show you or improve, that's a big compliment. That's an amazing compliment.
It's a big compliment, but I mean, like...
But that's also a compliment to the guys that have taught me and the people that have put the content out there for me to learn.
I think that what's important is when you're a coach and you're in a gym and other people know that you're a coach, there's this kind of ego game of like, oh yeah, I know. You don't need to tell me. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, for sure.
And
especially with guys.
Yeah, and I am. A lot of girls too. But I mean, I'm one of those where if you have something to say, speak the fuck up. And I mean, really, because I'll 100% appreciate it.
Sure.
It's not because you're a coach that you move perfectly. I think there's improvement to make everybody. That's why Olympic athletes are always coached day by day, hour after hour, lift after lift, because their technique, we can say that it's almost perfect, but there's always something to improve.
For sure.
And it's not because you're already good that you don't need a coach. People think that when they pass that certain state, I don't need a coach. I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm good now.
Absolutely.
But there's always something to say. My girlfriend, she's a really good mover. Like, she's a sponge. She used to be a gymnast, and she played handball. She's really good into sports. She'll learn something like that. And when she'll be in some classes or whatever, and even when I'm looking at her and I'm coaching her, like, to find what needs to be changed is very hard. And the person for who it's the hardest is herself, because she doesn't get cues as much as she would deserve. It's not because you're good that you don't deserve receiving more, right?
For sure, of course.
Like the guys at Westside, they probably get cues every second.
Well, as Dave Tate, I was watching a video a couple of days ago, maybe yesterday, and Louis Simmons will say the same thing as well, but like, the guys, when they train together, they're cueing each other all the time. You know, your goal as a training partner, as well as a coach, but as a training partner, is to help your fellow training partners get stronger.
Yep.
And, you know, he said specifically, he was talking about, if you have, you know, there's 5 people training together, or there's 6 of you training together, the 5 people not squatting at that moment should be watching you. Now you have 10 eyes that's watching you. Now you have 10 opportunities to get better, essentially, because you've got 10 different eyes that's watching you, that's going to see a problem potentially, or cue you, or in some capacity help you make that squat better, that deadlift better, or afterwards give you feedback on how to make it better. I mean, so as you said, the guys at Westside, the guys at Elite FTS, like, if you look at some of the Elite FTS training sessions when they're together, you've got Dave Tate, who's like, you know, a Goliath of powerlifting, and some of the guys that are there with him. And if you imagine the amount of knowledge in that room, but they're still cueing each other, they're still coaching each other, they're still giving each other knowledge, and they're still receiving that knowledge as happy as they are to give it. And that's what it is. It's being about happy and confident to give it, but happier to receive it.
Right.
You know, like, no matter if you're Ray Williams and you've got one of the best raw squats in the universe, if you're at Westside, when he went to Westside to train, like the other week, if Louis Simmons tells you something to make your deadlift better, I guarantee you that guy didn't go, yeah, whatever, mate. He went, okay, Louis Simmons,
I'll do it
and see how it feels. You know. Now that's not saying that Louis Simmons is better than him or he's better than Louis Simmons. That's just saying to get to that level.
You don't have the eyes when you're doing it.
Exactly, but also to get to that level, it was because you were humble enough to listen.
Exactly.
You know, of course, there is some elite athletes that are just cocks and that just don't give a shit, and you know that's cool. Sometimes their personality changes a lot as they get, you know, higher level.
Yeah.
But to get there, you had to at least be humble to get there. You know, no one ever started out as a cocky prick thinking they knew everything and became elite without the help of someone else. You know, you're only as strong as the army that's around you. You know, if you've got no coach and you've never had a coach, then I'm sorry, but you're probably shit. You know, unless you have studied YouTube and books a damn lot, and you just, you know. But yeah, I don't know what my point was going to be, but
yeah, for sure, man. I cool. So yeah, we're over an hour, man. I got 3.
to carry on if you want to.
I got 3 nasty questions, and then we could just keep on going after that.
Cool, man. Go ahead.
I didn't get you ready for this. So, what's the last best book that you've read?
The last book or the best book?
The last book. Let's go with the last book.
We can go both if you want.
Yeah, let's do both.
The last book I was reading was, can I check it? The name of it?
Yeah, go for it.
It's an ebook.
Yeah.
Specifically, the name of the book was Accessory to War by Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's about astrophysics and weapons of mass destruction and all this other stuff, and how they can correlate, and how space could be used as a method of war.
I know somebody who would like that.
I love physics. Physics is a really good. I love it as
Were you good in math and physics at school?
Nope, not at all. Not at
But
all.
now you can.
A few years back, I redone a physics GCSE because I was interested and I was reading a lot of books and not understanding shit. So I was like, right, let me just redo this from the beginning, just so I can sort of start understanding.
Now you have a positive relationship with it, maybe.
Oh yeah,
with
for sure.
sports.
I mean, my relationship at school was terrible. I hated every second of it. Again, it's that whole, like, you're forcing me to learn stuff I'm not really passionate about and don't really want to learn. So as the personality I had, I rebelled to that and said, nah, no thanks.
You don't know what you like.
Yeah,
you're fucking 16 years old. Sure. You don't know. How old are you now?
28.
28. Yeah, man. Same age.
What was the other question? Sorry, the best book.
Best book.
The best book I've ever read. Wow, that's a tough one. I can't say there's a best one, but if you start talking about like super training and scientific principles of strength, West Side Book of Methods, they just sort of lead you on to other books. I'm not sure about best. To answer the question for maybe sporting people that are going to
listen to
this,
or not,
instead of a physics book. So the last sort of training book that I read. What's the last training book I've read? Because I read all the time, but I've read so many training books now that it's usually physics and politics and other crazy philosophy that I read and listen to now. But I've read, the West Side Barber Book of Methods, I've just read that a bunch of times, and I've just started reading it again recently. And there is, I have no idea what it's called, but a friend of mine who's done a sports medicine course sent me his basically like manuals that he got from the course, and I've just started looking through them. So that's one. The best book I've ever read, no idea.
That's alright, man.
There's too many to.
The next is a little easier. So
one thing you'll know about me is you should know is, and I should have told you this before, I can veer off and talk about things forever, very quickly.
That's fine, man. So, totally. Who's your favorite lady CrossFitter?
Oh damn! We knew this question was coming. The one that gets not enough credit that she deserves. And Michelle, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, Michelle Letendre.
Yeah. Michelle Letendre.
Yeah. Amazing.
I'll send her this
video. For many reasons, which is awesome. And as a coach as well. Like again, it's another person I've tried to study as much as possible on YouTube and different things that she's put out.
I'll tell her to come to Thailand to go Samui and pop in.
Yeah, for sure. I just don't think that she, on a genuine level, I don't think she gets enough credit for what she does. You've got of course, Ben Bergeron is amazing. Like, he's phenomenal, of course. There's other coaches out there that are really amazing in the CrossFit
She's
world.
more of the underground. There's a lot of undergrounds.
And I'm not saying she doesn't get the credit, because she does get credit. A lot of people know her.
Yeah.
But I don't think she gets the level of credit that she really deserves. Alongside the people like Ben Bergeron, there's obviously a lot more. He's out there a lot more. But yeah, no. So yeah, I think she's great.
And if you had a theme song every time you get into a new room or when you drop into the gym, what would be that theme song? It plays in everybody's head when you get in.
Damn.
I'm having these Rocky songs in my head because all day there's been the trucks that are driving all around and say tonight, Muay Thai fight, and then there's the Rocky song.
The two biggest cons in the world are only 3 spots left, as Dave Tate likes to say. Whenever anyone tells you there's only 3 spots left, they're fucking full of shit. There's about 300 spots left. They're not going to turn any of you down. But they're saying 3 so that you go, oh my god, there's only 3 left, I got to get one.
Yeah.
And then the second one is the best Muay Thai fighters in the world fighting tonight, only tonight in Samui.
Yeah, only tonight.
Every night they're fighting.
Yes.
And every night they say, only the best, only tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, so every night they fight, and so that's another one. The song, so I told you I can veer off very easily.
That was good though, I like that.
The song is 5 Finger Death Punch. And it's called House of the Rising Sun.
Really?
Yeah, it's a great song.
Awesome.
Great song. Yeah, or the Superman theme tune.
What's the Superman theme tune? I can't remember.
I'm not gonna like sing it.
There's a couple guys that sang on my podcast.
Oh really?
Yeah. 2 guys, and they were really passionate about it. They really liked it. I use those teasers for them. Nice. Specifically. very important.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a singer.
No.
Not usually much of a talker.
But yeah, let's talk about the Muay Thai again. Like, so we're in this environment. Like, I think this environment is really great. Like, you're putting everything to success. A bit like we were saying earlier. Like, you create these opportunities. Like, there's a pool, there's a gym right there. There's like a strength and conditioning gym. Maybe what's missing is like a coffee and like a juice bar and like a smoothie bar and like something to make it more convenient to eat right after and just stay on place. But I mean, like, it's great. What do you think? What do you think? Yeah,
We affiliated to Juice Queen.
Yeah.
Not
too far away.
Road,
yeah.
So if you want to get smoothies and healthy food, go there. But yeah, man, we've got everything here. We got. I think we've got 10 Muay Thai coaches at the moment, including our head coach, Tarun.
What do you think about Muay Thai? What do you think about the fighting industry? I think it's crazy, honestly. Like, I went to see a fight in Koranta, and I was like, holy shit, these guys are gnarly.
I love combat sports.
Yeah.
My experience of combat sports has always been very, very positive. One of the most influential people in my whole life, professionally and personally, is my uncle. And he's a UFC veteran. He's an MMA and Jiu-Jitsu coach. I trained with him for a long time. He influences more people than I could ever dream of. And it's only my goal to influence that many people and change that many lives that he's changed and influenced. I've always had a great positive relationship with combat sports. Now, I know why people
don't like it or
don't like it and look at it in the wrong light. Obviously, of course, as with any sport, there's always something that's going to tarnish that name of the sport. You know, weightlifting, there's a lot of steroid usage in weightlifting. Of course, there's been steroid usage in mixed martial arts. You could look at a Muay Thai fight in two aspects. You can look at the art of what's happening in front of you, or you can just look at the fact that two guys are punching and kicking each other in the head.
What I've seen is a lot of camaraderie. Yeah.
But if you look at a Muay Thai fight for what it is, they have a lot of respect for each other. There's two men in the middle of a ring who have a lot of respect for each other, that are testing the skills that they have acquired over their career, over their training period.
And they train like a shitload.
They train hard and they respect each other. They don't, of course there's some bad blood when it comes to combat sports. There's bad blood in every sport. You can have, I've seen powerlifters before who hate each other and they go to the same competitions just to beat each other. That's good. That's okay. It's needed in the sport. Of course it is. Same with MMA. There's some MMA fighters that have rivalries where they do genuinely want to hurt each other. But then, if you don't like it, then just don't watch it. Don't put yourself around it. Is the thing I say to people. We're not throwing in the general population and going, they'll go and get punched by some guy who's amazing at it. We're kind of going, okay, two people that train in this sport, in this art.
Do they create the fights with? Do they create the fights with pretty much same level?
Here they try.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I'm not going to say that it's perfect every time,
but
they try to. They try to at least say, we want to put you in a similar level so that we don't just have, one guy pulverize another guy or girl. Of course, there's a lot of females, a lot of amazing females in combat sports. But yeah, I mean, I understand why it gets a bad light, but it's a very much, the way I look at it would be, and again, another long answer, but the way I look at it is the same idiots that say squats are bad for your knees are the same idiots that say MMA is barbaric and cage fighting. It's like, no, it's mixed martial arts. No, it's cage fighting. No, it's mixed martial arts. It's a mixture of martial arts, testing one man against another man or female, of their ability and skill level, or who's better on the night, could just be down to that.
I think it changes lives. I think it changes a lot of people's lives.
If the individual that is saying that it's barbaric, or saying the squat's bad for your knees, if they educated themselves on what is happening in front of them, then they would have a different opinion. Because they're uneducated on what they're saying, and they're just giving opinion, and I hate opinion. Opinion by default is not fact. It's opinion.
Or like trainers that say that CrossFit is shit.
Yeah, for sure. If you're specifically saying that this coach here who hasn't got any knowledge, that's only done 2 days of education, is shit, okay, that's okay. But as a whole thing, you can't just say generally the whole thing is shit, because there's some amazing coaches in CrossFit. I can say the same thing about weightlifting. I know a lot of coaches that are fucking hideous in Olympic weightlifting in Britain. But I also know a bunch of coaches that are phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and I just
it's not. Yeah, you have to. You have to take a cup of tea.
You have to educate. If you're going to have an opinion on something, you have to put fucking hours and hours and hours and years of study and educating into that thing to have an opinion about it. If you haven't studied it and you haven't got any knowledge on it, shut the fuck up. And that's me. If you ask me about fucking some shit I don't know about, I'm going to go, I like it or I don't like it. That's personal, but I'm not going to give you a big opinion on the thing because I don't know about it. I'm just going to say, sorry man, I don't know about it. Ask this guy because he knows about it.
Exactly.
You know, I'm not going to go, oh, fucking cage fighting is barbaric. It's absolutely not. It's a martial art. It's an art form, and it's two human beings, two athletes testing their ability against each other in a combat environment with maximal respect most of the time. You know, so it's the same with anything. You know, people look at weightlifting and they go, "Oh, you're going to break your elbows," or
what I like about, like, I'm not a fighter. I've never fought, but what I like about seeing these guys is they put in the work.
Yep.
And that's another thing about CrossFit that's cool is that they put in the work. A lot of the people that are succeed in that, even in powerlifting, weightlifting, I find they're beautiful sports because the athletes need to train. It does, like, don't get me wrong, there is some part of genetics and like talent, but there are sports that if you don't train them, you're not going to get better. And a lot of other sports, you can be very good and not need to train. Yeah, like hockey, football, like.
I found the thing that's drawn me to combat sports is the same thing that drew me to powerlifting as a sport, and it's very much exactly what you just said.
Process.
You know, if the process is developing, the process is exactly the right word. If you're not strong enough, you're not lifting that weight.
It's there. There's
a lot of science to it. There's massive amount of science to it, but if you're just not strong enough to lift that weight, it's not going to move. Like physics is not going to. It's physics, easy. It's not going to move. If you don't train in your combat sport and you don't put the time into making yourself better, you're not going to be a good fighter. You're going to have a bad record. You're going to have a bad career. And you're going to have a bad time.
And if you have a sub 5, if a sub 5 mile run, like, you fucking train for that.
Yeah, exactly. There's no way to get that. Yeah. You know, exactly. There's no other way to put it. You know.
Yeah.
If you're fighting in UFC, most of the time you deserve to be there. I mean, I know recently there's been a couple of names that maybe don't deserve to be there that are just, you know, for the name.
You see that GSP is he's out, he's retired now.
Yeah.
I thought they would do a Conor McGregor.
Would have been nice. Would have been good.
GSP.
But it's
I think he finished at the right time.
Yeah, man. It's just.
I've already eaten right beside him.
Yeah.
At a restaurant, he was right there. He's so small.
I mean, if you and this is, I mean, Joe Rogan said this before. I'm sure my uncle has said this before to me, and many people have said this before. I'm not saying it's me with this wisdom, but it's just wisdom that other people I've taken from other people. If even 1% of you is thinking about retiring, it's time to retire because it's a combat sport. Like, your job is to be punched in the face. If you're not in
yes.
it, you need to be out of it.
Yeah.
Like, at that level,
you can't have hesitation or doubt.
Yeah, for sure. It's the worst thing for combat sports. Once you start getting that, and you know, some people have tried to have longer careers than they really should have, even to the point where they sort of, I'm not really in this anymore, but it's the only thing I know what to do, so I'm going to just carry on doing it. And then they just have loss after loss after loss, subpar performance, injuries, they're not training enough. It all comes from that mindset of going, you know what, I'm kind of in it, but I'm kind of not. So as soon as you have that mindset, it's time to leave.
Yeah, you should just do something else.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
The biggest problem is
staying too long.
I don't want to say like in a sexist manner, but especially for men, there's the problem of going, no, I need to keep doing it. Oh, it's, you know, I'm a man, you know. So it's not a problem, man. If you want to retire from your combat sport, there's no weakness being shown there. You know, you're a respected human being for even stepping in the octagon or stepping into a cage or stepping onto the mat and competing in any way, you know, or doing whatever the thing you're doing. You're you know, it takes balls to get up and do stuff. So if people, you know, realise that there's no loss of, you know, alpha by just retiring when you should, then obviously they'll be in better states of mind, better conditions within their brain.
Yeah, definitely.
As I said, I veer off.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Forever, man.
No, don't even bother. And what's next? Like, what do you think you're? I like it. I like it, bro. The fact that you really put thought into every little piece. Like, that's good. That means you're thoughtful about everything you kind of do as well. But what's next? Like, are you gonna stay here for a couple of years, or are you gonna develop something back in the UK, or or are you still clueless about that?
I've got a bunch of goals. I've got a bunch of aspirations that I'm working on.
Yeah.
I'm always working on. I'm always trying to develop.
You should get some seminars in here, like retreats or something, like just for powerlifters.
We're thinking about doing some stuff like that. I mean, I've taught a bunch of seminars, like close to or over 100 seminars now.
Holy shit! Wow, impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
Those aren't easy to organize.
They're not. I mean, it's just been an organic growth. It's just been organic. You know, I've done a seminar in one place and they've Instagram or Facebooked it or whatever they've done, or told their someone owns a gym, their friend owns a gym, or a bunch of coaches have come to a seminar who own gyms and they've gone, oh wow, that was great, like come and do a seminar at my gym. Cool. I'm never going to turn down a seminar opportunity. It's amazing to pass on knowledge.
You do it practice and theoric.
Yeah. It depends on the nature of the seminar, but most of the time it's very much practical. Within that there'll be theoretical elements, and maybe at the end we'll spend a little bit of time on just like showing them general programming and how I program, not like a programming element, but just this is how I do things, if you want to kind of snapshot that and go away and study it more. And there's been other seminars which have been highly theoretical, like I've done a programming seminar in England when I was back there, and it was just 6 hours of just sort of conjugate concurrent methods of training and how to program, how to develop multi-year programming. And by the end of it, on the whiteboard was like a 4-year training system and how to develop that. And how not necessarily having 4 years written down in front of you, but having the ability to just program 3 weeks, but know how that's going to be continuing for 4 years or more. 4 years is just sort of a guide.
Well, after that, if that year's done, like what's next?
Yeah. 4 years was just the example, of course.
Yeah.
So that one was theoretical, and I was quite nervous about that one because I'd never done a proper only speaking seminar. They're usually a lot of practical, so I can sort of, that's what I prefer. But no, it went really well. I'm also beginning to build a course, like an online course, as a mentorship development program for coaches. I've got one guy at the moment, Tommy Cuff in England, who is the first ever Marshall Lee certified level 1 coach. It's going to just keep developing. There's no real structure to it. There's no syllabus. The way that I've been trying to develop it is so that there's not an actual syllabus. It's like I'm going to develop you in what you need to be developed in and what I can help you with, and when you're ready, you're going to become certified. I've been reluctant to do certificates for a long time because I don't like them. I think they're bullshit. A lot of certificates out there are just like, woohoo, I've done a 6-week course or 2 days, or
it's just a piece of paper.
Just a bit of paper.
Doesn't make who you are.
Exactly.
So many people have those pieces of paper and don't actually apply it.
Yeah, for sure.
I know many people that do like courses, but they don't apply it. So how do you apply what you didn't? Like, how do you apply? Like, if you never apply anything that you learn, like.
Yeah. And even then, a lot of courses now, like, you don't really have to understand the thing. You just have to understand it enough to write what they want you to say. Like, it's easy for me to sort of sit there with someone and go, if this is the question, I'm going to give you the answer so that you can write the answer. It doesn't really mean that you understand the philosophy and principles behind what you're actually writing. You're just understanding enough to write it down in the answer box so that they tick your answer. That's why I don't like courses. So, something like the max effort method, the simplest thing in the world. It's so misunderstood by everyone that doesn't really study the conjugate method. So if general people, it's about just maxing out. You just got to max out every day. Well, not every day, but you just have to max out. But they don't understand the intricacies of why that method is used. So that's the principle. I don't want to just tell people how to write the answer down. I want them to have a deep understanding of what they're saying. And my principle for me, if I don't understand something, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to tell you, I don't understand. I don't know the answer to your question, so here's someone that can give you the answer. Or if I don't know that, I'm just going to say, sorry, I can't answer that question. I know too many people that are going to just all right, let me say this and just make shit up. It's like, no, I don't want to be that guy. If I don't know, I'm just going to tell you I don't know. So
I kind of used that method last year as I was training for triathlons. I still love to lift weights. Like I probably rather lift weights than run, bike, and swim. Like, but I wanted to do a triathlon still. And I didn't I couldn't have a structure of lifting because of the fatigue accumulated of the three other sports. So that's what I used. Like, I squatted, I deadlifted, and I press and pull ups on the same day, and that would be like kind of the regimen. And I would go with RPE like small reps and not maxing out, but pretty close. And it would vary a week from another, and it made a massive difference between the first and the second triathlon by doing that.
yeah, for sure.
And just because like it's simple, it's so much simple. Like, then, I'll do this program, and then okay, well, week 6, these are the weights you should lift, and not gonna happen. Like I ran yesterday, right?
Well, I mean, one of the simplest terms for me that sort of describes why the concurrent method of training is so effective is just simply because you're doing what is said on the tin, concurrently building everything. Like, if you're doing a linear periodization and you are expected to do a max effort single on week
That
13,
week, yeah.
but you haven't done a max effort rep in 9 weeks or in 10 weeks or in 11 weeks or however many weeks it may be, how are you possibly going to be... Now, of course, I'm not saying that it doesn't work, because there's many people that make it work. Of course there are.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that you're not going to be as efficient at lifting heavy weights if you haven't lifted heavy weights for X period of time. Like, if you want to get better at basketball, most of the time you have to do basketball. You know, you wouldn't take Michael Jordan and go, right, so what we want to do is we want to make you play football for 12 weeks and then put you on a basketball pitch, and you're going to be even better. Like, maybe there's going to be certain qualities that are better.
I like that example.
Yeah, but he's not going to be necessarily better at basketball because he hasn't done it for 12 weeks. So if you have some capacity to lift heavy, because max effort work is a skill as well as it is a strength, and there's many things that come with that, deep intricacies of why the max effort method is so important. Like, after 3 weeks, 12 weeks, however long your block is, your training or continuous, you're going to be better at lifting heavy weights because you have performed heavy weights in the recent past.
Yeah.
If you haven't done it for 12 weeks, you're not going to be as good at doing it as you would be if you had done it for the last 12 weeks. Or at least the cube method, which is every 3 weeks, you're doing a max effort lift. For me, that's like the minimum. For me, like, I love the cube method. I think the cube method by Brandon Lilly is one of the best programs ever. I love it, and I've actually made it work in multiple other sports, not just in weightlifting. The principles is essentially of the concurrent method of training, or the concurrent system for the cube. But if you're not able to max out or do a max effort lift every week for one reason or another, whether that be, you know, the supplements you're using aren't strong enough, or the gear you're using isn't strong enough, or you're not using powerlifting gear, or whatever the reason may be, like, at least you should be on the cube method, in my opinion. Like, everything I do is in the concurrent model. So the minimum time that people are going to do a max effort lift is every 3 weeks, at minimum.
Get good at what they need to be done.
Yeah. Because, you know, any less than that, and I kind of feel you're not going to get better at lifting heavy weights. You're going to get better at repetition work. That's great, but you're not going to get better at lifting heavy weights. And especially as a powerlifter. I mean, that's our sport. Our
One
sport
rep,
is
man.
A 1 rep max. You know, that's as far as it goes. There's many ways to build that, but that's our sport at the end of the day. And it's the same thing with any athlete. You know, I want you to get stronger, and one of the best ways to make you stronger is to lift maximal loads. Again, that doesn't mean 1 rep max every week. It just means maximal loads of some capacity. The best way to get explosive is going to do sub-maximal loads of maximal speed. And the best way to build strength and endurance is going to be using some kind of rep work. Now, I prefer to do that concurrently and build them all the qualities at the same time. And there's a lot of different energy systems being used within them qualities as well, so your conditioning increases, especially when you're doing dynamic work and you're changing and manipulating your rest periods. I don't like limiting a phase to one quality. because I feel that is limited. As I just said, it's limiting the phase to one single quality or a small group of qualities. I prefer not to do that. I prefer to build all the qualities concurrently, and you have, for me anyway, it's a lot more successful. Now, again, it doesn't mean it's the only way, but it's the way I like to use, the thing I like to use anyway. Again, that's for all sports as well, and all populations.
Yeah, people aren't strong enough, man. That's what we'll quote in. Yeah, get stronger.
Strength is a prerequisite to everything.
You see Robert Orlando?
Yeah.
I think he has his shirt is lift heavier, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, man. People
should get you that shirt. I'll send you that shirt up.
Who is it? Louis Simmons and Dave Tate and many other people have said the same thing, and I don't want to keep quoting the same names over and over again, but like, strength is never a weakness. A weakness is never a strength.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I got that specific from Mark Bell. A video yesterday I was watching of Mark Bell. At the end of the video he says, remember, strength is never a weakness, and weakness is never a strength. Nothing weaker has ever been, oh, that's better being weak. No. Nothing's ever been better being weak, and nothing's ever been worse by being strong. So how about we just get stronger, and that's all populations, man.
I think it's like investing. It's investing in your future. It's like investing the money in the bank. Your strength is your bank. Listen,
man, I've been doing a lot of research recently on cardiovascular disease and cardiovascular issues in old age populations, and there was I'm not going to mention the name, I can't remember it, so I'll just misquote it, but there was a paper that I read on rear delt spinal erector strength and strength endurance, and its direct link to cardiovascular and breathing issues in old age population. Organ compression, essentially, from their posture, and that is a contributor to their breathing issues. Especially in the old age population, because their posture's so bad. And simple, if you just literally flex your back out like maximally and try and take a big deep breath in, it's impossible. You just can't take a big deep. In fact, it hurts, and you just sit and go, man, some people are living like that. Like, that's how they just breathe every day. Like, no wonder
that's fucked up, man.
They're dying early.
That's fucked up.
Like, the direct link, and now that's not saying that's the cause, but there's a link. There's at least a link there. And like, this, one of the simplest fixes there is just making your rear delt stronger, and making your spinal erector stronger, your posterior chain stronger in general. Like, that's going to just make you go, oh, now I can stand up. Oh, now I can breathe better. Like, oh my God. Like,
what I think about what you just said is that once you start working on developing those things, those physical qualities, is that the people are actually going to see a difference. And if ever, I don't know, whatsoever, they skip a week because something happens, well, those gains are still going to be there.
Yep.
As opposed to if they're training cardiovascularly only,
yep.
Well, if they miss a week, they lost what they've ever done. Yeah. It takes a week. Honestly, like, cardiovascularly, if you don't do a week, you'll lose your past 3 weeks. Strength doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I mean, so I just wanted to say this bit because I think it's important for anyone listening to know this and to do this. I coach my clients, my athletes, all populations, whether it be Olympic athlete, whether it be 70-year-old lady. At minimum, I try and achieve a 2-to-1 ratio posterior to anterior.
Right, because it's what's most weak.
It's usually the weakest, and the reason
underdeveloped. Yeah.
Underdeveloped. One of the reasons, not only because of Western society and the bullshit the Western society do in general life, and sitting at offices and sitting down and doing all this, and sports that we play at schools, and the level of physical education, especially in Britain. I don't want to say it about everyone because I know America's got a pretty high level, but just especially in Britain, and because life is anterior, and this, people don't realise this. They realise this, but they don't consider it. Life is anterior. Everything we do is in front of us. Nothing we do is behind us. You don't stand at your desk or wash up with your hands behind you. You don't hold boxes behind you. You hold boxes in front of you. Everything you do is in front of you. And generally, people don't know how to lift stuff up, so they'll generally have slightly forward, like a slight flexion, so that everything's anterior. Their anterior delt's being used more. They go to the gym and they think, I want to look good in the mirror, so I'm going to do my biceps more. I'm going to do my chest. Everything's anterior, so they're already over or underdeveloped posterior chain, he's now being the ratio is even bigger of your anterior overdevelopment, let's say, compared to the posterior chain. They do more chest at the gym. They want to do abs every day. They want to do quads because it makes their legs look bigger, yeah, and biceps, as I said, and everything in the mirror muscles, the things that make you look good in the mirror, or when you stand in front of your girlfriend like that, yeah, look at me. So not only is your anterior being dominated in general life, you're now dominating your anterior in the gym, which is now making your anterior even more dominant in general life because your posterior is getting even weaker, and then injuries happen, especially in athletes, you know. So just because of general life and because of that general attitude, especially in Western society, I train my athletes so much more posterior chain than anterior chain, at least for a good length period of time, like until I feel like and can see and can evidence based, especially in their lifts and stuff.
I think it's easier to coach some.
It has evened out. The ratio is evened out. You know,
I think it's easier to understand better the posterior chain for somebody that's new to training too, than the anterior. I think it's easier to coach a good deadlift than a squat. There could be so much more things that go wrong on a squat than on the deadlift.
But even styles of squat as well. You know, like
using more your glutes, your hamstrings.
Yeah, exactly. Using more glutes. Exactly what we was doing the other day.
Yeah, on the box squat.
A lot of people squatting, even with good squat technique. Like, I'm not even saying bad squat technique. I'm saying very, very, very good squat technique. Even then, most of the time they'll be very much quad dominant.
Yeah.
You know, very much quad dominant. And it's just about little tiny changes can actually start activating your glutes and hamstrings the same amount as your quads. And scientific studies have shown that there's no lesser quad recruitment when you do a squat that's slightly more posterior chain focused. But there's a lot less posterior chain when you do a quad dominant squat. So I'm just saying use the full unit. You know,
right.
That's what I'm saying, is just use the full unit. Don't use half the unit, use the full unit. And then develop the posterior chain while you're squatting, not just the anterior chain, or the anterior of the body. So yeah, I wanted to slide that in, the posterior to anterior ratio. Everyone needs that, you know.
Train that ass.
Train your ass, train your back. You know, your back can never be strong enough. Your glutes can never be strong enough. Hamstrings, you know, simple things like face pulls. If you don't want to go to the gym and you just want to try and be as healthy as possible without going to the gym, just get a couple of bands and do some face pulls and good mornings. You know, that's literally going to save your shit when you're older. You know, literally going to save your life.
Banning good mornings and face pulls.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Because you're just building them rear delts, you're building your lats, you're building your hamstrings and glutes. You're just going to generally be a stronger human being. And outside of philosophy, if you're a stronger human being, you're generally a more fucking useful human being. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I was talking to one of my coaches I developed, and they was asking me about how does all this stuff apply to general population? Because, you know, conjugate method is very much powerlifting, and, you know, some people are scared of that and X, Y, Z. So how does it apply?
You adapt it.
Yeah, not even adapt it, but I just said, as I said before, like if you're doing some kind of speed work, and like again, by degree, this may change, but we're trying to make them faster, we're trying to make them stronger. The old lady on the bus or the old man on the bus holding on to the side is just going to be able to stand there better when the bus is going around corners and shit.
When I started functional training,
you know,
I realized this because I slid on ice and I didn't fall.
Yeah.
And for years I've been falling.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
If someone's walking down the street, like again, I don't want to keep, you know, saying the old people, but just generally weak people, and that's in no way, I mean that as a diss. I'm not saying like, oh, you're weaker. I'm just saying generally weaker human beings, especially the aged, walking down the street, someone bumps their shoulder into you. Like, if you're a weak, older human being, well, that can fuck your life up, man. That can like dislocate the shoulder. You might fall over because you're not strong enough to dissipate the force you've just, you know, had contact you. You're going to fall up, your joints and ligaments, tendons aren't strong enough to take any impact when you fall over to the floor. You're not fast enough to stabilize yourself and put your foot out. So many problems just by making you stronger and by improving your reactive timing slightly is like going to change your life. Because now when someone bumps into you in the street, pretty much going to dissipate that force, take it and go, cool, that maybe it hurt a little bit, but I'm not going to die. As I said before, standing on a bus. If you're on a bus or in unstable condition, not necessarily a bus, but just in any unstable condition, and as you lose stability, you're fast enough to put your foot out or to grab hold of the side. Like, that's what dynamic work's going to do for you. You know, it has a great advantage to general populations.
Not by training with dumbbells and catching.
Yeah, man. Just, you know, or, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. There's probably a place for everything. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But
I agree with a lot of what you say.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, that's my thoughts on that stuff. As I said, I veer off very easily. I start getting passionate about stuff I talk about, and then I just veer off for like 6 hours.
Thanks for doing this. It's this will actually be my longest podcast.
Sweet.
I love it. You had a lot of. I'd love to have you back. Honestly, like I think this is just the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yeah, man. Oh, of course. Yeah, no, I could talk for hours.
We could try to do this on a Skype, like
yeah, man.
Maybe once or something like that. Or I'll have to come back.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. You live in Canada, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So
you come only in the summer.